Go ahead, Ryan, you want to share the screen?
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. My name is Elise Dulai. I am the Vice President of Administration of ASGCC. And with me tonight is our Senator of Administration, Valeria Acosta. My screen. We are excited to bring you the first ever Learning and Professional Pathways workshop series in collaboration with Guided Pathways. We are joined by some amazing GCC faculty members tonight, but before we begin, I have a few announcements about interpretation. So we have interpretation and closed captioning services available tonight for our deaf or hard of hearing attendees. You have the option of pinning the interpreters by clicking on the 3 dots by their faces and selecting pin video. We also have our captioner doing closed captioning tonight, and it should be on automatically, but if it is not, click the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. This meeting will be recorded. However, we will only be recording the speakers and not everyone else in the audience. So we will be sending out a student survey at the end of the meeting. If you are here for extra credit, please fill that out, since that is how we will report your attendance to your professors. So I'm going to pass it on to Denise for a little more of an introduction.
So hello and welcome. My name is Denise Leong Bratton. I am the Career Center Coordinator and one of the career counselors here at the GCC Verdugo campus. And I am joined by Ryan Bishop, who is also another one of the career counselors here at the Verdugo campus. So thank you for joining us. So let's get started.
All right.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna do this really quick. So why are we here? So basically this pathway is the introduction to all the other 7 pathways that GCC will be offering. We're here to discuss how to choose a major and a career based on your interests and strengths using a guided pathways approach. So what are the learning and professional pathways, or LPPs as they're referred to? Learn directly from professors on how to turn your interests into skills in their fields.
So a big thing with what LPPs are going to be, a big thing of what we're going to be talking about today is this idea of working out of what you're good at. The whole point of guided pathways, the whole point of these learning and professional pathways are to introduce these areas, these quote unquote pathways that match up and are near kind of what you're good at already. What are your strengths? What are your interests? What are these things? And that's what this quote is all about. It's this idea of when it comes to a career, when it comes to a major, when it comes to these decisions you're thinking about, why not start with what are you good at instead of what do you need to work on?
So from ancient times to today, societies function on the interests, talents, and skills of each member of society. Each role contributes to the larger world. And as Ryan said, what are you meant to do, right? And here we see all different types. We've got artists and politicians, writers, agricultural workers, builders, athletes, musicians, people who work in the textile industry, healthcare workers, cooks, or our culinary arts. There's so many possibilities of jobs. And there's so many emerging new jobs. And there's so many majors in the US that students could possibly pick. Actually, in the US, there are more than 12,000 majors just in this country alone, of where students can major in and study and enhance their interests. So what we're discussing in this particular pathway is what is your best fit and what role would be for you to enjoy yourself? Like, how do you choose with so many possibilities, with so many different interests? How do we help you select what is the best fit for you?
An important thing to understand in this selection process is a question I actually get a lot. Is education still important? Does education still matter? And while there is definitely still unemployment that happens with the more education you get, if you look at the numbers, and these are fairly fresh numbers, 2017, 2018, you can see the difference in earning rates compared to unemployment rates. And these are averages, of course, there's always going to be exceptions. But you can see there's a fairly significant difference for those with that professional doctorate degree. You're looking, when it says professional doctorate, you're looking at a lawyer, doctor, something like that. Researcher could be under that as well. master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, associates. Some college, and that's going to be closer to the certificates that we offer here on campus, high school graduate, and then less than high school. And there's a pretty significant, obvious rise in earnings with the more education you have, and lower unemployment rates with the more education you have. Again, these are averages, but it's always good to kind of keep this in mind as we're moving forward in this discussion of which LPP should I choose, which LPP should I focus on? Is education, is going down this path even worth it? If money is important to you, I would say it could be worth it for you.
And I want to make a brief correction of what I said earlier. I meant 1,200 majors. I got so excited when I see all the possibilities that students could choose from. I meant there are 1,200 majors in the US, not 12,000. Though in my mind as a career counselor, it seems like there's 12,000 different possibilities for students with all the questions that they ask and all the information that they come in with the knowledge that they want to know. So I just want to make that correction for all of you students here. And as Ryan just said about, will I make money in my particular major or field of study or the LPP I choose, right? So major and earnings, right? So as Ryan had previously said, your major does have an impact on your starting salary right of college, right? There's certain majors such as computer science, business, engineering that do start at a higher rate due to supply and demand, due to the type of education, the classes required to complete those majors, right? Some of those majors are a lot of calculus, a lot of science. But however, if you're a high achieving English major, I am an English major, that is my bachelor's degree, a philosophy major, anthropology, psych, any of those other types of majors in the humanities, in the social science, you can make more money over your lifetime than the average engineer. We're looking at, averages versus on the higher end with more potential, with more interest, right? Motivation for those types of careers. It really is about where are your talents and skills that you have developed. Okay, and here's a great source, Inside Higher Ed. We put a source there for you for more information about looking at, because we always ask, money in a job, right? We always get that question. Is this major going to make X amount of money? And I always want to ask students, like, how motivated are you to pursue this field of study? Are you passionate about that? Do you have a vested interest in that? What does that look like? Because that's going to be a big part of the determination of what happens in your future.
Another really cool source that we found is when you ask employers what it is that they're actually looking for in college graduates, there tends to be this very overall, and I've seen this list a couple different places, this is not just this source, these top 10 skills that employers are looking for. And when you look at some of these LPPs that we offer, you might think of something like communications and languages, not think much of it when you realize, oh, written communication skills is one of those top 10 skills they're looking for. There's, as you're thinking about career and money and all of these things, the important thing to understand is what are the skills you're going to be developing along the way? Because yes, as Denise said, major doesn't matter. But in the end, what the employer is looking for is somebody who knows what to do, knows how to do it, and knows how to work on that team that they are on. And there's so many different ways of getting to that point that if we can work through figuring out what makes the most sense for you and who you are and what you like, that might be the best LPP for you because it's going to develop those skills to get there.
So one of the things that you're going to be able to do at GCC is we have something new called the Career Coach. It is a self-exploration career assessment that all students at GCC will be able to take. And these are the results actually from Ryan. So Ryan and I, when we worked together, I asked him to take the Career Coach. I've taken it myself, but I didn't have my results readily available. And Ryan, how accurate is this for you?
There's only one or two things on here that I'm like, this is not accurate. Overall, all this sounds like me or things that I've thought about doing in the past.
So as we see here, and so that social, artistic, and enterprising, we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail if time allows, about what that relates to, and then some of the other traits. These 6 traits are called the Holland Code, and the career coach is based on Dr. John Holland, who's one of the pioneers of career development theory. This is his research. Came up with these 6 areas that people are a combination of interest, right? We all like different things. We all can do different jobs. We all can choose different majors, but ultimately we choose the ones that are the best fit for us, the ones that we like the best. And so like for Ryan, we see here that the top 5 categories that came up from him based on the career coach assessment was education and training, which is obviously working in now, human services, right? Working with people, helping others, arts, communication, health science, and then business management, right? And then here are some of his top 10 career matches: art therapist, preschool teacher, post-secondary. There are a lot of things, self-enrichment education teacher, which is very much tied to a career counselor. It's a very similar types of interests that correlate between the different careers. So we wanted to just show you what that would look like. That is the link to the website that you have the opportunity to take the assessment. The results are housed in Career Coach, but you can bring it to a career counselor as well, and we can discuss it further and have a really great discussion about what does this mean for you? Is this true for you? And what possibilities are you thinking about as far as career and major choice and LPPs that match that?
And I will point out as well, if you do end up taking this and you look at those career matches and you go, this doesn't sound like me, that's a perfect conversation starter to have with one of us in the Career Center. Because I can tell you, I am not musical at all. Music director as that #1 career match makes no sense for me, unless there's some other things at play as to why it came up. The fact that I grew up in a musical household and all of my family are extremely musical. I didn't get that skill or that knack, but there's a reason why maybe I answered the questions the way I did. And so that's going to be where that conversation comes from. This, we would suggest you take this as this conversation starter to bring that to us, and let's talk and see what that means for you. When we meet with you in the Career Center, what we do in career counseling is we do what's called career planning. We look at all aspects of kind of what you're thinking, what you're motivated with, what does success look like, what are the steps to get there, talk about strengths, talk about goals, talk about if you find this job, are you qualified to get there? For those of you that like checklists, like Denise, we can go through a checklist, right? That is not a big deal at all. But what we do in career planning is all of this comes together into one aspect to help us discover what it is you're thinking. If you don't know, and I imagine if you're kind of talking with us, you're looking into this kind of personal development, undecided pathway, there's at least a part of you that's not sure what you want to do. And so this is kind of a broader view of when it comes to looking at actual careers, what we look at, dependent on the person.
And this star correlates with the career planning. This is actually this is the career decision-making model in a star format, right? So what we look at when we're exploring careers, when we're looking at how you choose careers, how you choose majors, is we're looking at an individual's values, like what's really important to you. It's a conversation a lot of students we work with really haven't had before. They haven't really looked at what are my deal breakers as far as my future career, as far as myself and how I fit into that. And also looking at our interests. So the career coach is an introduction, it's an introduction assessment to your interests. That Holland Code is tied to the interest area of ourselves. We also look at personality style or personality preference, right? Like where do you get your energy? How do you gather information? How do you make decisions? How do you approach life? And how do those work together when you're making career decisions, when you're choosing what you want to do? Okay, and then we look at skills as well. So again, Ryan had talked about, we've discussed about, skills that you want to develop, skills that you already possess that you want to develop further, or skills that you would like to develop. You're like, you know what, that's something I'd love to be able to develop, something I would like to be able to use in a job, but I don't really know what that entails. How can I develop that skill? How can I find out about the skills that I have and how to use those? And then that connects to the majors, right? The academic majors that we talked about, the many possibilities of majors that are offered at GCC and throughout the United States. And all that comes together with research, right? So when you know all these different points of the star, right? And a star, as we see, are equal points. So one point isn't better than the other. And that's what we really try to bring home, is it is a holistic, career counseling is a holistic view of an individual. Career exploration is a holistic view, the whole person. What is the whole individual about? And how does that correlate to a career that is meaningful, a major, a job that is meaningful? That's what we're looking at. And it also comes with research. We teach you, we provide very specific places, that some that we subscribe to, some that are free, of how to do research, very meaningful research, very accurate research, very detailed research, right? Anyone can Google a job. I always tell students that's not the way. There are more parts than Googling. Googling is a research tool, perhaps not the best research tool always, because what comes up in Google are the most popular hits, not that it's the best information that's available, right? It's really important to learn research, take a library workshop. Library offers great workshops on research development, how to truly take the information and deduce what is important. And that's what we want to do with this.
One place that we do this kind of work, one place that I think would be really helpful for anybody in this particular, that it's thinking about this particular LPP, is we have 3 different classes that we as career counseling faculty work with. One is our student development 125 class, and it's literally just a career planning class. It's pass, no pass, it's 1 unit, and it's actually CSU and UC transferable. UC was just added this year, thankfully. And that is and it's an 8-week course that's all about just the career planning process, the career planning decision-making process that Denise was talking about earlier. We have a more comprehensive class that's career and academic success. So there's a little academic counseling that goes on with it within this class as well. It's 3 units and it's the whole semester. It's CSU and UC transferable as well. And we have another class that we have been working to kind of restart. It's our cooperative education class. And for any of you who are maybe working right now, maybe you have an internship, hey, guess what? You can get college credit for those classes. And for some of those internships, it may be required that you get college credit for them. And our co-op 101 class is where that happens. It's 1 to 3 units, depending on the number of hours you're working, as well as those units are CSU transferable. So for those that are interested in more of the classroom environment, to go through some of this process, or maybe you're working and hey, I'm putting in all this work and going to school, why not get a few extra units along the way as well? And you can always contact us in the Career Center to learn more about those if you have any more questions, or we can talk later on in this as well.
So learning and professional pathways, right? So what is it again? It's a guided approach to help you choose your major and career. And it is a group of majors by common subjects, careers, and coursework. GCC has 8 learning professional pathways, which will encourage you to select a pathway towards a degree or certificate and provide counselors and professors tools to help students stay on and complete their path. So we are the personal exploration pathway. We are a pathway that is designed to lead you to one of the 7. You do not stay in our pathway. We are an introduction pathway that we start you off. We help you if you are undecided or would like validation in your career options and in your major options. And then we will lead you to the other 7 pathways. And we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to give you a brief introduction of all 7 pathways.
So here are all 8 of them listed. If you just want to look at the names of them, hopefully some of these you can get an idea with. Language and communication, visual and performing arts, industrial technology and aviation, business entrepreneurship and management, health, public safety and wellness, people, power and perspective, that are personal exploration, as well as science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. But for that individual description,
So for language and communication, so the questions that you'd want to ask yourself is, are you interested in exploring the languages, literatures, and cultures from around the world? Do you love connecting with people through language written, verbal, or both? Are you someone who loves a good story? Choose this GCC pathway to explore and understand varying perspectives of humanity and connection through writing, literature, media, and language.
here are some of the majors or courses, should we say, that are going to be focused within this particular LPP. We have a bunch of our non-credit colleagues with us today for some of those ESL classes you're going to find under here. Obviously, different languages, obviously communication, English, creative writing. There's a lot here that really develop into a whole bunch of options that we can talk about more later, but these are just those common majors and classes that we have at Glendale.
Next, we have the Visual and Performing Arts, LPP. So ask yourself, are you interested in artistic expression and developing a clear creative voice? Do you see yourself as an artist, a creative content producer, a technical expert, skilled performer, or storyteller? Do you want to work with creative people, perhaps in a design firm, a museum, or film studio? The Visual and Performing Arts pathway will prepare you for a career in the arts, where you can express your artistic focus through visual arts, animation, ceramics, dance, film and television, gallery studies, graphic design, music, photography, theater, and new media. This pathway builds a mastery of skills you can use in careers throughout and beyond Los Angeles, the largest creative economy in the world.
Here are those majors and certificates and courses that fall under the Visual and Performing Arts LPP here at GCC. And they are totally right. There is a whole thing called creative economy. And Los Angeles is huge. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest right now in the world for the creative economy. So, but yeah, these are your common ones. Some build you to transfer, some build you to do the work. It just depends on what you're looking for.
Next, we have Industrial Technology and Aviation, LPP. Are you interested in designing and building residential and commercial properties or technological devices that will help increase productivity? Have you ever dreamed of learning to fly a plane or work for the airline industry? The Industrial Technology and Transportation pathway is for students who want to use state-of-the-art technology to apply the principles of science and engineering to real-world problems. GCC students in this pathway may directly enter the workforce or continue their education to earn advanced degrees.
So here are those certificates or degrees that we have for this LPP. For those that didn't know, yes, we have a whole pilot training program. It's actually one of the better programs in the California Community College system focused on that. It's a really cool idea that that's there and the access and resources we have. So it's pretty unique in what we're able to offer. So if any of this interests you, I'd highly suggest kind of asking more questions about this one.
Health, public safety, and wellness. Do you like contributing to the safety and well-being of society? Are you interested in helping others achieve their health and fitness goals? GCC offers health and wellness pathways that involve directly working with patient care and medical services, nursing, nutritional services, and personal training. Public safety pathways include serving the community as a firefighter, law enforcement officer, and emergency medical technician.
So for those degrees or certificates or courses that we offer for this LPP, you can see there's a lot of different ones. These are all very industry focused. And what I mean by industry focused is a lot of these help you work directly into the job. There's some transfer that goes on with these courses, but a lot of these are much more focused on getting you work, getting you experience along the way. And you can see it's a wide range from our addiction studies to our fitness specialists to EMT to our fire academy. There's a lot here that we're able to offer.
Business entrepreneurship and management. Do you enjoy working with people and leading them toward organizational goals and economic success? Do you value curiosity, teamwork, leadership, creativity, and customer service? You will have the opportunity to learn a broad range of skills and gain experience in effective communication and persuasion, business strategies, leadership, analytical thinking, and problem solving. At GCC, we offer certificates and degrees to prepare you for that next step in your business career.
And for those certificates and degrees, here you go. I'm not sure if they're listed on here. We also have some non-credit business certificates offered as well. But you can see it's a whole range from accounting, computer science, to computers and IT and HR. And there's a lot that we offer in our business program. Highly suggested if you're interested in that area at all.
People, power, and perspective. Are you interested in the inner workings of humanity? Are you curious about society, behavior, and culture? Do you have a thirst for knowledge and a desire to share that knowledge? Then the People, Power, and Perspective LPP may be the pathway for you. Explore local and global communities and interpersonal connections as you discover ways to positively impact society. Discover academic and career options in history, psychology, ethnic studies, and women's studies. Pursuing the People, Power, and Perspective pathway may lead to exciting careers in counseling, law, global studies, education, social justice, and beyond.
Here are those majors and degrees, and there's a few certificates here as well and some coursework, all based on whatever kind of topic interests you. Again, this is not about picking the right thing right now. This is about figuring out what interests you and which of these LPPs make sense within that. And that's what we are going to help you figure out.
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, otherwise known as STEM. Are you a problem solver and innovator? Do you like to take things apart to see how they work? Do complex systems like chemical bonds, the human body, motors, or computers fascinate and inspire you? GCC STEM Pathways prepare students to transfer to four-year institutions and go on to become engineers, mathematicians, medical professionals, researchers, and scientists.
And here are those degrees and certificates that fall under the STEM pathway. I know that this is a pretty popular one at GCC. If you're unsure of your major, you probably know somebody interested in this major as well. And it's a great pathway. I will say though, it's not for everyone, and that's okay too. And so it's a matter of figuring out what is that best fit.
And the personal exploration, this is our pathway. So are you unsure about your major or career? Are you here to explore your career options? Do you need updated skills or coursework for career advancement? Are you here to learn something new and enhance your life? For any and all of your needs, we offer specialized career research platforms to provide you with up-to-date job and career data, as well as unique career possibilities. The personal development pathway is here to provide a variety of coursework to take the next steps in your journey.
And so we've talked a lot about that coursework. We've talked a lot about that process and what that looks like. And those, we haven't talked about what those research platforms are, but we can definitely do that with you. Before we go any further, I do want to check with you, Elise. Do we need to jump into some of the questions right now?
Did you have more on your slides?
If there's time, but we can
There's
not do it.
time, go for it.
Okay.
You sure?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sure. Go for it.
So
Okay.
we wanted to do an activity because, well, we do a lot of activities in career. Ryan, you can join in with me. So this is what you're looking at is called the party game. And we would like all of you to participate in this, right? Students, faculty, interpreters, everyone alike. So what you want to do is, and I can, you know what, I will just go around and read them. So there is a hexagon with 6 different triangles that make up this hexagon. What do we know about a hexagon? All sides are equal, meaning all of this is equal, just like all the LPPs are equal. Neither is better than the other. So we'll start at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from realistic to conventional clockwise. I want you to think about what type of person, like if you were at a party, which type of people would you want to talk to? Like who are similar to you, right? What are the type of people you're drawn to based on how you do things or things that you like? So we'll start with the realistic people, the doers. Realistic types enjoy working with their hands. And this is just a brief definition. We don't want to give you the this model is very extensive for this LP event. We just wanted to do something shorter. Investigative, the thinker. Investigative types like to explore and understand things and events. Artistic, the creator. Artistic types enjoy creating original work and have a good imagination. Social, the helper. Social types are interested in how people get along and like to help other people with their problems. Then we have the enterprising, the persuader. Enterprising types like to persuade or direct others. And lastly, conventional, the organizer. Conventional types like to follow orderly routines and meet clear standards. So now that I've read these, I would like you to pick the 3 that you like the best in order. So what are the first group of people at this party you'd probably be the most similar to, have the most deepest conversation, then the second, and then the third. So you're going to come up with the 3-letter code. You've seen this code before. Where have you seen this code before? When Ryan did the career coach. When we showed you his results, you saw on the top his 3 letters, their 3 highest letters, and then the 3 letters that were not as high for him. So this is a little bit more into that conversation of what career coach is, okay? So we'd like you to pick your 3 that you are most drawn to, connected with, right? Ryan, do we want a few people to share?
Yeah, if people don't mind sharing, I think that.
Yeah, we'd love to hear which are the 3 for you that you're drawn to or connected with the most.
I mean, you all saw mine as social, artistic, and
Would you like us to put that in the chat?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, please.
Yeah, you can chat it too.
Sure, whatever you're most comfortable with, right? Let's see. Thank you, Valeria.
Wow, they're coming in now.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. And Aaron. And this is just an activity, so don't stress out over it. Don't, this is, I'm not reading, this is not astrology. I'm not reading, your celestial, no, just a fun activity.
And this is a very simplified version, as Denise was saying. So there's no right or wrong. This is about you. We can't say we know you best, right? You know yourself best. So trust yourself. That's part of this. But if you are finding this difficult, that might be worth a further kind of one-on-one conversation with us.
Yeah, if you liked all the choices, right? They're
Yeah.
equally valid for you. That would be, and some for some people that is where they're at, right? They have difficulty making decisions is difficult. They're very indecisive. That filters on from life to career to major selection to other areas, and we can help you with that. And I'll share mine as well. So I am an SAE, social, artistic, and enterprising are my favorite three that I connect with the most and feel the most comfortable with. All right, so excellent. Thank you for all for participating. Ryan, we have one more activity based on this. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so this one is kind of a fun one, keeping in mind what we just looked at, and I can go back to that slide if you need to look at it some more. I just want us to be thinking about what kind of TV shows match each of these interests, right? So as we look at this hexagon here, there's the doers, the thinkers, the creators, the helpers, persuaders, organizers. Are there certain TV shows that maybe make sense with one theme more than others? Now, one thing that I always tell my students, just like us as people, most TV shows are going to be more than one theme, and that's okay. In fact, that's actually probably a good thing. But let's think about what are some TV shows that maybe make the most sense for one of these themes. Think about maybe your favorite TV show. Can you place that in one of these themes? And if there is anybody willing to put it in the chat, we would love to read it. Or if anybody willing to say it out loud, we'd love that too, whatever you're comfortable with. I know I can go. I know for me, one of the things that I really love is because one of my top ones is social. One of the things I really love are those heartfelt, meaning-filled helping shows, right? I always think of Extreme Makeover Home Edition, something like that, where it's just like it tugs at your heartstrings, you know, it's helping people. You know, that's not all I watch, but that's definitely one of my favorite shows. And I can say for sure that falls under the helper one, and maybe even under the realistic as well, because there's a lot of construction that goes on there.
Awesome, all that you're sharing in the chat box. It's so great. All these unique shows that I actually watch too. So it's great that I'm not alone in watching shows. I love to, this is activity Ryan and I do the TV show activity with our students in our class. It's super popular. It's amazing what they come up with, the different shows that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that show was, you know.
I learn about a lot of shows this way.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Thank you so much.
to kind of close it out, and Denise, you can jump in here as well. Here are some of those themes that we were just talking about. Here are kind of how some of them play out in each of these LPPs. Now, this is not for sure, this is not finalized. You are your own unique person. Your journey is your own and unique. But here's kind of some generalities that play out here.
And they're not in a particular order per se. The career counselors, we went through all these and we looked, because Holland Code is something we study heavily in grad school and something we use in our everyday practice. Theory is the basis of all career counseling. Counseling in general is based all on theory. So we looked at all of them and we decided which ones we thought fit best with each of the LLPs. Obviously, the personal exploration that we're talking about today is all of them, because our point is to introduce all the themes and all the LLPs to all the students and help them make the best informed choice for themselves.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen at this point for this part.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I definitely learned a lot, and I know that students who will watch this in the future will learn a lot as well. We're going to start with some faculty introductions because I see some new faces, and So we're going to start with Margaret. I'm just going to call on people. We're going to start with Margaret. From
Hello, I'm Margaret Richer. I'm the division chair for non-credit ESL.
Thank you so much, Linda Young.
Muted, you're muted.
Muted, Linda.
Hello, I'm rarely muted. Sorry about that. Yes, I teach in the non-credit ESL department. Linda Young.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize.
Krista, I think that's you, Krista Raimundo.
Okay, I'm so sorry, cut off. Hi, I'm Krista Raimondo. I'm also from the non-credit ESL division. I work with Margaret and Linda. I'm their outreach and retention coordinator, and I also teach in the program.
Thank you so much, Professor Peterson.
Hi, my name is Maitha Peterson, and I teach in the history department. I teach the U.S. history, and I specialize in history of American women. And I'm also the faculty advisor for the History Students Association.
Thank you so much, Professor. And then Professor Calderon.
Hi, I'm Erin Calderon. I teach in kinesiology. So I teach like PE, health, and then of course, the personal training and group fitness instructor classes.
Thank you so much for those introductions. So throughout this series, one of the most inspiring things that I've heard and that I know other students have heard from faculty presenters has been their own stories on how they picked their major. So our first question of the night is, how did you pick your major and what was that journey like for you? And we'll go backwards. So we'll start with Professor Calderon.
So I kind of picked my major because it was something that I liked to do in my free time. I liked to exercise, and I would go into the gym to work out, and I would look at the trainers who were there and think to myself, I could do that. So I actually saw somebody who was doing what I wanted to do with my day, and I kind of just took off from there. Once I started studying it, I fell in love with different classes. I almost changed my major at one point because of a professor who was particularly inspiring to me in political science, and I'm so glad I didn't. But I love what I do, and I have actually used a lot of the different classes that I took as part of the general education pattern in different aspects of my career. So I've used English in writing, I've used some languages in, instructing fitness. I've used statistics even in analysis. And so, yeah, I just kind of started with what I like to do and then gathered everything else from there.
Thank you so much, Professor Peterson.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you first for that great introduction and all the information, because I'm happy to know that I'm in the right career based on everything that I just learned. Looking back, it just makes sense that I ended up here. I think kind of naturally I did what these LPPs are doing. Is that I wasn't sure at first what career I wanted to end up in, but I knew what I wanted. I knew what I enjoyed, and I knew what I liked to spend my time on. So I think just I would just apply to the classes that appealed to me. Like with the requirements, I would always go in that. And just as I went through, it just narrowed down. And looking back, I really can see that this is exactly where I intended to be the whole time. And I feel very fulfilled in my career. So this is a great opportunity for students to be able to do that, because one of the things that I struggled with is that although it worked out, while I was going through it, it didn't feel like it was working out. It felt like I was like, I'm just guessing right now. Next semester, I'm just guessing, right? I'm just doing what I like. I'm doing what I enjoy. So this is really wonderful to for the students who are here, for you to understand that this is okay, for you to kind of have a broad understanding of what you want to do. And then as you go forward, just take one step at a time, it'll narrow down. So that was sort of my path, is just kind of like the old, follow your heart and it worked out.
Well, thank you so much. Krista Raimondo.
Hello. So I'm currently working in my dream job at GCC. I love it, and I'm so happy here. And am in the final throes of my doctoral degree in educational leadership. And basically, what got me here was a strong interest in language and not knowing where it was going to take me. So I was taking a few different languages, started to work with students and tutoring them in English, and realized, wow, this is so fun. It doesn't feel like work, and I could get paid for doing this. And then after realizing, okay, the core desire was teaching and working with students, starting to notice directors and supervisors that I had had in the field that I really admired, and realizing maybe one day even educational leadership or administration. So same thing, starting with a passion and then narrowing it down to a skill that's a marketable one. And now I'm here and loving it. So I hope the same for everybody who's deciding on their LPP.
Thank you so much. We actually talked a lot about marketability in our other presentations, our other workshops. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go check out those other presentations. Moving on to Linda Young.
Hello, everyone. I think I graduated from a community college, so I'm a big, community college advocate. And I really spent the first couple of years just exploring, because I did have diverse interests, and I kind of wanted to see what was out there and what I really enjoy doing. And so that focus on passion and doing what you're good at and what you naturally enjoy, I think is huge. But I think also looking at the environment and the society where it is in terms of what skills are needed now. That's another thing. So I'm glad I got into teaching. I've always been a teacher from the time I was probably 2 years old. I was teaching everybody how to do something. And so then started traveling, ended up teaching abroad and loved it. I taught in Japan. And I thought, this is great. If I can get paid to teach, like Krista was saying, then this would be perfect. So I came back, got a graduate degree, and moved on. So that's how I got into teaching ESL.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's like my dream life, is to go travel abroad and teach. So might contact you about that. I have questions. So moving on to Professor Riker. Apologize, I haven't been saying professor.
That's okay. And you don't have to, that's fine. And it's richer. So like more richer, that's okay. Yeah, I am a personal explorer and always have been. I mean, I would have loved that LLP. And it's interesting that when you were talking about that, that would have been perfect for me, because again, I was sort of adrift and didn't know what direction to go. And if I could have focused on, what my passions were and what interested me, it would have gotten me a little more directed, to the point that I did Peace Corps and I did all of these kinds of things as a way at least to travel the world, and do that, find a way. So I think that's a common theme for a lot of ESL teachers, is they want to see the world and travel the world, and it's a way to do it and work. So I did that and just sort of fell into this, and I've been at Glendale College forever, and teaching in non-credit ESL, as they said too, I have said, is the perfect job. I love it. I love going into the classroom every day, and I get paid for it. So, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to pass it on to our other moderator for the night, Valeria, for our next question. Sorry, Valeria, you're muted.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so this is a question for everyone. In the presentation, the counselors talk about the top 10 skills that employers look for in college graduates. How can students develop those skills at the community college level? Then starting with Professor Raymond.
Oh, I would just say one thing I wish that I did more and have started to practice more as I became a teacher myself was don't be afraid to reach out to your instructor, tell them what you need. they're here for you. Don't feel like you're bothering them, and gain the professional advice and insight that they have in the field from them in their office hours and something like that.
I can add to that too. I also am a graduate from the community college system. And so the community college really offers that opportunity, as Professor Young was saying, like the exploration, right? So take that opportunity, because that's where you're going to develop the skills. I would also say, try things, try classes. Like, some of us might know what we're interested in, others might not. So if you take classes, you'll be able to see, start to develop your, or start to understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Another problem that I think I had was that I focused too much on my weaknesses and trying to figure out, how can I improve that? How can I sort of turn that into a strength? How can I make it better? And now looking back, is I should have just been like, I'm just going to do okay in those classes. I'm going to survive those classes, but the classes that really matter to me is what I'm going to focus on. And then that's where you can develop the skills. Every single one of us have skills already. We have strengths, and we can. So I would say to students, it's like, focus on those things instead of worrying about where you're lacking. I would say spend a little bit more time nurturing and engaging those aspects of you that that are already strong, that come naturally, right? And so I think if you do that, it'll help. And I think the community college is a really great place to be able to do that. Again, as the other people said, exploration, just kind of checking things out. And I second what Krista said, is that definitely reach out to your professors. Like, we really are here to help, and it's really, I mean, it's part of what we enjoy doing is speaking to students.
Thank you for that. Professor Zhang or Professor Calderon, is there anything you guys would like to add?
Sure, I'll add to that. I think what a lot of potential employers are looking for when they are, sitting down and interviewing you is your ability to communicate and also be outgoing. There's probably only a few jobs where you don't have to work with anyone. You don't have to work with other people. Most jobs you will have to work with somebody and either be a part of a team or communicate, or in some way either teach or connect or educate or ask for things, present things. So practicing that communication, it can really be helpful to do that in the classroom and start getting to know your classmates and get to know your professor and ask them questions and be really interested in their experience and develop that sense of a broader understanding of people, and really get to know people, get to know the people around you.
Thank you.
I just want to add also, the critical thinking skills that you get in any course that you take are invaluable when you get out when you're working a job. And the self-motivation to go to class to do your work, that's so important with work too. So any field that you study, you're going to get those critical thinking skills. You're going to get hopefully have those motivational skills. And that's going to help you in any career choice that you make.
Thank you
so much. So our next question actually comes from somebody in the audience. What prepared you most for your career other than academics? So we'll start with Professor Young for this one.
Okay. Why? That's a big question. Exposure, I think. Like I said, trying new things, traveling, volunteering. I just did a lot of things outside of the classroom, and that I worked in retail, I worked in offices, I took on internships, externships. I just wanted to be exposed to a variety of positions as well as people. So for example, I took a photography class from a very famous photographer in the state I was going to school in. So I think that exposure really helped me to kind of, one, see what that vocation was all about, and two, whether it was a good fit for me. So that's what I tended to do.
Thank you so much. I actually want to open this question up to the counselors as well. So Denise, do you have anything to add?
Everything they said is correct. I mean, for me, it was my mentors. I actually started my career, and Elise knows this because I share this with her. I started off pre-law. I actually was never going to be a counselor. How I became a counselor is my academic counselor sent me to the Career Center, and I didn't go for 3 semesters. And he kept on bothering me. I said, that's for people who are undecided. I'm not undecided, but he really wanted me to validate the choice. And with working with the career counselor, who's still my mentor today, here I am 25 years later. Best decision I ever made, not go to law school, get a master's in counseling instead. And she encouraged me to get mentors. She encouraged me to intern. She encouraged me to volunteer. She encouraged me to do informational interviews, job shadowing, all the things we teach. We teach all workshops in these, by the way, in the Career Center. So all the things that all the professors are talking about, we actually teach and can help you with resources for finding internships. Definitely use your professors. I always encourage students, use both instructional and counseling faculty. That's what we're all here for. And that's what, so yeah, it's, you know, everything that they've said is exactly, it is, degree doesn't equal a job. That's what I tell students all the time. Your major doesn't equal a job. Harvard University cannot guarantee you a job. What it'll give you is skills and resources. What you do with that information is up to you. The self motivation that Professor Richard talked about. I mean, that is, you know, that's something that you have to develop. It's internal.
I'll also throw out there, for me in college, I was a religion major. And so I now work in education. And it took me 5 years post my bachelor's to figure out what I wanted to do. And that just got me in the door at a grad school. I still didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I just knew the path I wanted to go because I was tired of the retail jobs. Because Professor Richard, I'm with you. I worked retail. I was, you know, those people that talk to you outside of the fancy stores, pre-COVID, of course, outside of the fancy stores asking for money, or, you know, sponsor a child or something. That was me. I did that. It's called canvassing, technically. I was unemployed. I was in sales. I was a youth director. I had done all these different things for 5 years. And let me tell you, it was draining and it was depressing. So if you're feeling lost, or if you're feeling like you just don't know what it is you're supposed to do, that's actually a pretty normal feeling, which is why this LPP exists, which is why I have a job as a career counselor that I love, is because they pay me to help students figure that out. Whether you're like Denise was of, oh no, I know, let me just figure out how to get there. Oh wait, maybe I don't know. Or like I was of like, yeah, I like studying this, but I don't know what it means for a job. That kind of conversation. And for me, the internship I had in my grad program was everything. It led me to my mentors. It led me to my networks. It led me to this job here, actually. Specifically, it led me to this job here. And so mentor and network conferences are huge. It's things that I would suggest for sure.
And I have to give a shout out to Ryan, because Ryan volunteered at an event, a career event that we were hosting. And he and I started talking. And based on the conversation, what I saw in him, I said, I don't have any adjunct positions for you now, but send me your resume. I really like you. I'm really impressed with your self-motivation. And when a position came up, I offered to interview him. And here we are 4 years later. The reason why he's at GCC as an adjunct is because he volunteered at an event that GCC, that the Career Center hosted for. It was a national, the National Career Development Association hosted the national conference at GCC.
Can I add to that too? I love listening to all of this so much. I want to say too, is like to all the students, is you are developing skills and you're developing experience all the time. life experience, any struggles you're going through, any type of job that you have now. I think sometimes there's these misconceptions that like, and then especially early on, like if you're early on starting to figure things out, like we think that I need to have this specific internship in the field already in order to develop, you know, the experience, and you don't. One of the things that we talked about at the last one, the specific one for my division was you also can experience in what you don't want to do. So as Ryan's saying, it's like you have these experience, like, I do not want to do this. This makes me feel bad. I want to cry all the time, right? Like going to work makes me want to cry. That can help as motivation, right? To like steer you into a different direction, a direction that's going to make you, you know, feel fulfilled, feel like wanting to do, to go to work, wake up, do those things. But start to look around at what you are already doing, even if it doesn't match, right? Even I started off at an insurance company, and I did that for 7 years, and I managed a claims department, right? And I knew that, and it was a decent job, a great company. I got paid well, but I knew that it just was not what I wanted to do. And once I knew that I wanted to get into academia, into teaching, into history, I thought that I was like on another planet. Like, how am I going to get from insurance to education? But as you move along, you realize like that you are developing skills that you will use. Like, you are developing skills right now, you are developing experience now, and you don't need to be in that internship right now. You don't need to be in that field yet. It will come in time. So I guess another piece that I would add is like, don't be so worried about that clock, right? That clock that you feel is ticking all the time. Time will get you there, and just trust that the path will lead you there. And it doesn't always look like what you think it should look. It's not a smooth, clear path. It's kind of wonky sometimes, but you'll get there.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to add to that, though, is that school isn't just the classes that you take. There are clubs to join, things like that. That was a big part of my experience, and sort of what motivated me and kind of moved me into directions is, you know, that there's a campus life outside of the classroom too, and getting involved in that kind of helps you focus, you know, as to what you want to do and interests you might have, and finding other people, and then the networking and all of that happens with that. So it's more than just the classrooms too. So outside of the academic part, it was the clubs that I joined, different things like that I did in my college years.
Yeah, thank you. Professor Peterson, I just wanted to ask, in your experience as the advisor for the History Students Association, have you found that a lot of students change their mind or change their path based on being in student activities?
Some who change, others who just feel more comfortable with like what I'm saying, right? So others who are kind of like not sure. So yeah, as at least same. So I'm the faculty advisor for the History Student Association, and most of the students in that club are not history majors. A couple of them did change, and a couple of them did turn it into a minor. But most just sort of as Professor Richard's saying, is they're sort of developing all these other skills. So not that I'm seeing them change their major or sort of refocus, but what I'm realizing is that they're, as we're talking about like developing skills and experience, is that I'm seeing so much growth in them as leaders, as you know, being able to work in teams, as taking initiative. Again, all the things that that employers want is developing there. And again, the negative, right? Sometimes the negative are failing or struggles. Like we've had a couple minor sort of hiccups because it was fairly a new club. And so these moments where we're like, what are we going to do? Like, this isn't working out. I was like sitting back like, yes, this is where they're learning, right? They're learning how to problem solve, right? I'm like, this is exactly what you're here for. It's not because it's going to be perfect and seamless. It's because you're learning how to work with others, how to solve problems, how to be creative, and it's just a wonderful thing. So absolutely, student clubs and activities is something that I highly recommend, that unfortunately I didn't have an opportunity to do because I was working full time. So for those students who are able to participate a little bit more on campus activities, I highly recommend that.
And I'll just add on to that. When I hear that as a career counselor, I hear resume bullet points right there. So when you're thinking about how to get experience to add to that resume to go after that job or internship, that's something that you can add on there. Oh, this helped created this club, and this happened and developed this, and all these things you can put on there and talk about as real life experience that employers want to see. Like that's just the short of it. Employers want to see that. So I'm all in for what they're saying, what you're all saying about um, activities, and there's still ways that those are happening now. So
Mhm.
Thank you so much for those responses. I'm going to pass it on to Valeria for the next question.
Okay, to shift gear a little, this is a question for non-credit. What programs do you offer students at both Verdugo and Garfield campuses?
I can go ahead and answer that. Yeah, we're a non-credit ESL. So we're sort of a basic skills courses, and we offer different courses for students that might have different directions. Our focus is, of course, our teaching English and teaching English for academic purposes, teaching English for vocational purposes, and then also teaching English is just to be able to work within the community. So we've got some different ways that students can go. We have what we call our VESSEL program, which is vocational ESL, which helps students learn language skills that they would use in the workplace. And then we also have our college readiness ESL, which will help students matriculate from our non-credit over into the credit. And so most of our courses are on the Garfield campus when we're face-to-face. But we do have a program, the college readiness program is on the Verdugo campus here. And so these are geared to help students prepare them to take academic courses, to take the credit courses, starting with credit ESL and then working into other credit courses to work towards a degree or a certificate or something like that. So we sort of take this three-prong approach to learning English. Learn English to be in the community, learn English to get a job, and then also to learn English to continue with academics.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So continuing on about resources and programs, Professor Calderon, is there anything that the athletics, division at GCC provides for students that you want to speak about?
Oh yeah, there's a lot, and I'm probably not even the best person to talk about this. But there's quite a bit that we do in athletics, and athletics is something that's. I'm sorry if there's background noise. It's I think it's Disney Tunes playing in the background. But I played tennis, and actually I picked my school based off of where they had a women's tennis team and where I could play tennis. And so often we find that, just those interests and what we want to do as part of that college experience, that can lead us to a certain place. So there's a bunch of stuff that we have in athletics. We have CASA, which is a Center for Athletics and Academic Success in Athletics. And then, of course, we have great counselors and everyone who helps us to be successful as a student athlete too. So.
Thank you so much. So I don't know if Denise and Ryan want to add if there's any standout programs that the Career Center has for students.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure, yeah. So we've talked about a lot of them, but we have kind of one-on-one appointments to figure all this stuff out, to actually do that career planning, that career exploration. We walk alongside you to do some of that career research with you. We have career assessments, and the cool thing about these career assessments is these are the same ones that are used around the world. If you were to do some of these assessments in a private, like using a private career coach or something, it could cost anywhere from $100 each. Needless to say, they are much, much, much cheaper for us. And depending if you're part of any programs, we can get that covered depending on the program you're a part of. Or if you just don't have the money right now because, hey, guess what? COVID is happening and so many people are unemployed. Talk to us. We can help you with that. But the cool thing about it is us as career counselors, we have some of the same training certifications, if not more, than the people that are charging that much. So you're getting the same quality help in this kind of nearly free service, if not free. And so we have that kind of one-on-one help for that career exploration. Also the job skills preparation stuff, resumes, mock interviews, interview prep, cover letter writing. We do all those job skills things, as Denise mentioned, on workshops as well as one-on-one appointments, where you do the workshop to learn to write a resume, write yours, and then let us look at it. Again, those things are all free, something that you have access to as just being a student. We also have, let's see, we do events throughout the year. We're going to be having a virtual spring job fair that we're working on building now. It'll be in the spring semester. And again, that'll all be virtual, just like the rest of campus. But so we have our workshops, our one-on-one appointments, job fair, those classes that I mentioned earlier as well. So for any of that, all you need to do is call the Career Center and they can walk you through either making that appointment or how to sign up for that workshop or whatever that might be. I don't know, am I missing anything else, Denise?
No, that's pretty. And for our students who have more experience, we do have students who already have degrees, they're career changers. We also offer like salary negotiation, some of the deeper things that someone who already has a degree and is maybe coming back to take one class or adding a certificate to their degree or preparing for grad school. We have a lot of offerings, one-on-one counseling and workshops targeted to those populations. So we do serve the entire student population of GCC, from adult reentry to students who come from non-credit to credit. A lot of credit students do have degrees. They're learning the world of work. They're learning English, obviously, and the skills necessary for the job market here. So we just continue what they do with EDIT on the Garfield campus with us. And so we're, a fully functioning career center. A lot of people are surprised of GCC is fortunate that we have a really robust career center. Not all community colleges have what we have. That is due to, our Vice President of Student Services and our Dean of Student Services, the commitment that this college, that's why I chose this college. I got other offers. I chose GCC to work here because I knew the career services were well established. It would give me opportunity to grow the program more.
Thank you for that. And this is last questions for you guys, for Ryan and Denise. Do you have any resources for volunteer opportunities or internships at the Career Center?
Yeah, we do. We work closely with the Center for Multicultural Student Engagement. So we have a very tight relationship with Hoover Zeriani and Nane. So we do work closely with them because they offer a lot of nonprofit volunteer work. We have resources as well, but we work in tandem with them. We have a lot of students that see both of us that we refer for appointments to Hoover. So, and right now there's like Ryan said, a lot of things are going on virtually. There are virtual internships. There's micro internships, which are only like 3 to 4 weeks long. We can help you with that. And there's also a lot of volunteer opportunities that are happening as well. So yeah, feel free to make an appointment with us. We do half an hour and hour appointments for students, and we can go from there to connect you with the resources you need. But yeah, we have a lot of extensive connections within GCC and outside of GCC as well.
And part of those connections are in tandem with career counseling and the counseling services within the Career Center is we have our job placement center within career services as a whole. So that's the center that takes care of all the on-campus jobs. It also works and has all of our connections to off-campus, and they're working. We have an online job board specific for Glendale Community College students. That if a company or an organization is looking to hire a student for a position or an internship or volunteering, we might send it out. We might do a small event, a hiring event or something like that. But we'll also put it on this job board as well that you can get weekly notifications on and things like that. And I can tell you that Tatiana and Nadine are working very hard at finding the internships and making the connections. So, and they're always asking about what students can do for different companies and organizations. So that's all part of what we can offer you as well.
Thank you. Okay, I'll pass it out to Elise.
Thank you, Valeria, and thank you, counselors. We really appreciate your time. This is our final question of the night. So looking back on your educational career, is there anything you would have changed, and do you have any final tips or advice for students? We're going to start off with Professor Raimondo.
Now, having seen the resources that the Career Center offers, I guess I would have needed a time machine, but I would have liked to change the way that I began, even though I think I took the little quiz when you sent it out, the 60 question one, and it's exactly what I'm doing now. So it's very accurate. So without it, I was still fine. But I think realistically, just to give myself a better sense of guidance at the time, I would have probably had to or liked to shadow people in the fields that I thought I was interested in. Because it seemed like the model was take classes first, try to find a job after. And I think shadowing and getting realistic experience in the field, or at least gleaning the insight from the experts and the professors I had, would have been something that would have given me more of a concrete sense of direction, but still ended up in the career placement top pick. So.
Thank you so much, Professor. What about Professor Young?
I agree. I think I would have taken a career development class. I mean, it's wonderful, really. I kind of feel like it should be required for freshmen. And it may be in universities, but I'm so impressed with all of that information. And I was thinking through all that. I wonder if any of that would have changed anything, you know, how that would have, I think, like Margaret was saying, it would have been a little bit more guided, and I may not have been out here doing all that other stuff. However, I do want to say on that same note, I think following your intuition, because you know yourself the best. So follow your interests. What are you really interested in? And then what are you not interested in? And we heard some of Ryan's story about things that he did that were not satisfying or interesting. So he moved on to other things, but follow your interests, talk to people, talk to your professors, talk to people in the field that you might be interested, take on part-time positions, volunteer, get active, like Margaret was talking about, clubs, activities outside of the classroom, just as much exposure as possible in areas that are interesting to you. And then it's just a process of elimination, I think.
Oh, thank you so much. What about Professor Richer?
I would say don't be afraid of the journey. I mean, a lot of this is self-discovery, and there are going to be times that you don't know. Like I said, I was a personal explorer, and I mean, to this day, I'm probably still a personal explorer. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of sort of things that maybe don't seem as clear and certain. You know, trust in the process. Reach out, as we said, to people that can help, the Career Center, counselors, things like that, to help guide you. But don't be afraid of ambiguity or veering off the path or things like that, because that is part of the process and part of figuring out what direction you want to go to. I think I was the kind of, you know, as I said, I kind of bumped around a lot, and I felt like everybody else was focused and I wasn't. And I think not being focused led me to this point where I am today, which is I'm doing my passion. And so that, be open to that, and don't worry if it's not as clear and focused as you want, but reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out too.
Thank you so much, Professor Richer. So we're going to move on to Professor Calderon.
So the question was, what would I have done differently, maybe looking back?
I know we answered this last night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few things I really like. I like where I ended up. So it's hard to say, wouldn't want to have changed that. But I wish all this had been available when I was going to college, because I do remember talking to a counselor at one point, but they just asked me what my major was and then told me which classes I had to take to complete that major. They didn't really talk to me about what I could do with this and what my plans were. I didn't get that kind of insight until I was really deep into it and I was talking to my professors. So I do wish this had been available at the school that I went to, and all these resources. And I do kind of wish that I had been more active on campus, even though, like some other folks, I was working, but I was lucky enough to be working in the field that I wanted to be in. So I think that was really key for me too, just getting some of that experience. And a lot of that, I think students don't realize they can do. Especially in my area in kinesiology, there are a lot of entry level positions that you don't need a degree for. And you can get in and start working and get that experience in the field instead of maybe working at Starbucks, which I'd also love. That's my dream job someday to get free Starbucks. But but instead of working something in an area that's not related, you could be working in a gym. You could be working in a PT clinic as a PT aide. You could be working at the front desk and just getting to know people and getting to know more about when gyms are back open, obviously, but getting to know more about that field that you are interested in, and if it is a really good fit for you.
Thank you so much. And then finally, Professor Peterson.
Okay, so yeah, just as Professor Calderon said, it's kind of tricky to say, like, would you change it? Because, um, like I like where I ended up, and looking back again, a lot of the struggles that I went through, because like all of these resources and our career counselors that we have and all the wonderful resources we have on campus, like definitely for the students, they should take advantage of that, right? Um, I think my path was longer. It took me 7 years to get out of the community college system, right? But I think now, if I knew then what I know now, I could have done it a lot quicker, but I wouldn't be sort of who I am. And I think, like, in my classrooms, I can resonate with students. Students get me, I get them, because I went through those things, right? So I don't think that I would change anything. But as far as advice for students, it's sort of like echoing on what some of the other professors are saying. It's just trust the path, like trust the process, right? Don't freak out if it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. Just keep going. And the other thing is, again, why I like these LPPs is because you don't need to know exactly where you're going to end up. Like some careers, like you said, I'm a teacher, firefighter, right? Like lawyer, those have titles, but there's so many careers out there that don't have that title that we're accustomed to, right? So just trust that as long as you keep at it, you don't give up, you will end up in a good place. And maybe the career that you want doesn't even exist yet, right? So just keep at it. And then, yeah, definitely, again, I didn't get to, or I wasn't wise enough to make the time, with my working schedule, to take advantage of the resources on my campus when I was in school, but definitely take advantage of all the wonderful staff, faculty, and resources that we have at GCC. It really is a really wonderful place.
Thank you so much, everyone. So that was our final question of the night, and that is all the time that we have for today. If you had any questions that we didn't answer during this workshop session, then please email them to me at asvp@glendale.edu, and we will try to get your questions answered. If you haven't filled out the student survey in the chat, please do so when you leave. We want to hear your feedback about this series. We're hoping that it'll be an annual thing. This is our last workshop for this particular series, but we want your advice and your input for all of the years to come. If you're curious to know about the other learning and professional pathways, we encourage you all to join us, to watch them on YouTube, because they will be uploaded by this weekend. So please visit associatedstudentsgcc.com or our Instagram at as.gcc for more information. I hope everybody has a very happy holiday. Good luck on finals, and stay safe as always. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Elise. This was great. Thank you, Valera.
Thank you.